Thank you. I would like to start by saying that there is absolutely no academic background whatsoever to what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the journeys and the questions that I've been asking myself as I've gone round the world 59 times or round the sun 59 times. What is that area? What is that we have? What is that we can achieve? Where can we travel? And it's a question of territory. And I was just thinking, what is your territory? Is it your world? Is it what you own? Is it who you are? Is it where you belong? But what I'd like to talk about is the belief I think we need to go in search of our territory. And that is about curiosity, passion, and courage. And I'd like to say how I learnt this was once there was a happy little boy in Africa. I used to keep pet scorpions. And then, in the way of the English child, I got sent off to boarding school in England. But I was exceptionally lucky there, because I had a housemaster who, after a couple of years, said to me, "Anthony, let's get one thing absolutely stupid. Sorry, let's get one thing absolutely clear. You are far, far too stupid to go to university." So I thought, wow, freedom. You know, what could I do? But how could I impress the ladies? So I decided that maybe I could become a bullfighter. And you can see there is my head and there is my foot. So I thought bullfighting is possibly not for me. But what it did do, though, was to give me this desire to step out, whether wandering into the Taklamakan Desert in China, and thinking to myself, where could my shadows fall? Where could we take our shadows? Where would we have our camel train? Where do we want to go in life? What do we want to achieve? And how can we get there? And when someone says, come and climb a high mountain out in Western China, Mustagara, 7,000 meters, I said, of course, but I knew nothing about mountains. But occasionally on that journey, you think, aren't we lost? Why are we trying to do something that is so exciting and so ridiculous? And I realized on these journeys that probably attitude and trust and the philosophy of I will not complain were more important than skills. Because I think it is that passion that we bring with us that is far more important. Now, I didn't discover this going on some great idea. It was because actually I was living in Tokyo, and I went on this journey across Papua New Guinea. And on this journey, I saw there were villages. And we had 24 bottles of wine and no food. And it's true. There was my wife, my best man, and this is Philip. Now, Philip is the complainer. We won't get there. I'm scared. I'm lost. That man had such faith in human nature. He had a padlock on his backpack. And I realized it was about this trust and these skills. And when you're in the middle of a river, you don't want someone saying, I know the rope is going to break. But what I think we need to do now is from time to time is to go back to visit that campfire, visit that energy, that essence of what we are. And I didn't discover this by going off looking for things. It was basically because I drank too much beer in Tokyo, and there was my stomach. And I thought, let's go off and wander into the deserts and elsewhere. And on this journey, I went off, and there every evening, the Maasai would wander into our village. And at school in England, I had seen arrogance without an iota of substance. Here I saw substance without an iota of arrogance. And I thought, what is it they have? At that time, I had my Rolex watch. I had all sorts of other things. I thought, what is my substance? So I decided to go to Papua New Guinea. And I went to New Guinea, and I started to learn about a big man having many feathers, a bigger man being able to hand out his feathers, that one had to take the responsibility of the spear, and one could not hand it out. But most important of all, when I said, what is the most important thing in your life? They said, it is my territory. They know the community. They know their identity. They know who they are because of how they behave. And I thought maybe the world is my territory. So the first time I went hitchhiking in China, I fell out of a woman's balcony. and I paralyzed myself. But it made me start to question, what are my values? What are those things that are important? And in Africa, where we spend a lot of time, the story of the goat. And a goat is handed to a child at the age of 3 and said, this is what you are responsible for. Look after this goat and your community thrives. If the goat dies, our community is at risk. At 3, a child is given that responsibility. So maybe I believe the time has come to simplify our world, to simplify back to metaphors, and where feathers are awarded and handed out, and spears are given. And whether it's on the Great Wall using metaphor, but preferably I go back to Africa. I go back to where we first stood up. And there in Africa, we use that as the metaphor. What is your world? What are you looking after? What are you actually protecting? What are the threats to your world? Let's bring them real and emotional so people can see what they might be. And it's wonderful taking people to relearn. I can talk about it forever, but it's about actually guiding people there to look at what is their world, that clarity of what are people looking after. Do we know our skills? Do we know what we want to do for people? That was a map drawn by a chairman of an organization. We're heading for paradise. And then you drop one level down in the organization, and you see the bullshit bridge and the fantasy application. Wouldn't it be great to go back to a world which is Eric Kasana? I was staying in his mud hut in Africa, and he spoke very good English. I said, you know, you've got to come to England, help us with his wisdom. And there he is in England teaching. Because I think we need to learn, we need people who know who they are because of what they protect. And as economic crisis and other things come into our world, and we start to think, what is it? What do we value? Do we value education, or do we value who we are? And I think today we need to build up our airbags of trust. Trust in self, trust in others, because these occasionally deflate. And over here we have the designer brands, the job titles, and the other things. And how much of our education is a cardboard box? If I get this degree, I will be a great person. Is it not possible that Western civilization only exists by having education systems that make us feel socially inadequate? When are we taught about who we are, about what we are, and about what we can do in life? And that's all I can talk about it, but at least with my children I can say, what are you chasing in life? Go out to Africa, chase those dreams, reach out and look at what is possible for all of us. And that is why this summer I'm sending my 16-year-old to spend a week looking after the cattle of the king of the Zulus through a wonderful contact who is here today, and then walking with the Maasai for a week. Because I think we must go back to a point where we are respected for what we can contribute, respected by our communities for who we are, what we can do, and ultimately take responsibility that all of us here have that freedom to go in search of inspiration to make a difference to the planet. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Very well done. Well done, man.